This is Andrea McDow from CrossFit Amrock. What I'm going to help her do is what the same thing I've helped more than 1,000 affiliate owners do over the past 5 years is help her to build a better affiliate. Now, what Andrea's trying to do is she's trying to get to $30,000 in revenue, in recurring revenue on a monthly basis before they make the move into the new facility. And in this video, what we're going to do is I'm going to help her identify and map out how to pull on all those levers in order to make that happen. All right, welcome back. I guess we're calling this a CEO show. Who knows? So we're here, solve gym owners' problems. So real quick, give everybody a very quick intro. Who you are, name of your box, where you're at, and how long you've been open.
Okay. I'm Andrea McDowell. My husband, Rocky, and I own CrossFit Amrock in Idaho Falls, Idaho. Okay. We've been open since September 16th of 2016. Okay. So approaching 9 years.
Approaching 9 years. Okay, cool. And then give me a little bit about the gym. How many members do you guys have?
So we have CrossFit members, personal training members, and nutrition only. Okay. Combining all that together, it's about 155.
Okay. And then do you have any like rough breakdown of like what those percentages look like across those three services?
Percentages? No, I can tell you numbers.
Even better, yeah. Okay.
Nutrition only, we've got 9.
Okay.
Personal training only, we have 13.
Okay.
And then the rest would be fitness, and then fitness plus nutrition. So,
got it. Okay, so you have a hybrid membership in there. Okay.
Yes.
And then do you offer anything other than kind of like your straight stick CrossFit offering?
The only other thing we offer is we do have a yoga class that's tied in with CrossFit, but then like a punch pass for yoga only. So that's it.
What's the revenue off of that?
Not
even worth discussing?
No.
Okay, cool. First recommendation is kill that. I've never seen yoga work in a CrossFit gym. They're just two opposing service deliveries, and the vibe are so very opposite. Jay tried to do it. He failed. You should go back and look those videos up. Okay, so then let's call it roughly 140 of that 155 is your membership base, right? Okay, so looking at, I don't do math. That's
85?
90%, yeah. Okay, so yeah, okay, got it. Okay, so tell us, what is the problem you're trying to solve? If you could solve it, would put you over the moon.
Okay, so we are in the process of building new facility.
Okay.
So we have our current facility, we have our land purchased, we're trying to build. We've been working on building revenue. Okay. We hit the 20,000 milestone last fall.
Got it.
Been working to try to hit 25.
Okay.
We've been between 21 to 23 pretty consistently.
Yep.
And maybe an occasional 25. But it's just not consistent, and we know we've got to get to this 30 with anticipating mortgage, new expenses, etc.
Quick question about the new facility.
Yep.
You purchased the land, did you purchase it outright?
We own it outright.
Okay,
yep.
So are you going to finance the construction loan?
Yes.
Okay, got it. So that will be the mortgage. The mortgage won't be land plus building, it'll just be building.
Correct.
Got it, okay. And then could you cover the mortgage with your current revenue? Or do you need to be at 30 in order to cover
We need to be at 30 to cover.
Got it. Okay, yes. So is the build predicated on you getting to 30, or have you already started going through the loan process?
We've already started going through the loan process.
Okay, so then what timeline are we looking at?
That's a very valid question.
Okay.
It's been quite the journey.
Yep.
We're 5 years into this process.
Of getting approval for the building?
Of permits, rezoning, like every speed bump, we've run into it. We do have this plat done. The site plan just got approved.
Okay.
But the lender, we have to get permits before the lending happens. Yes. But we've been pre-approved for everything.
Okay. So give me best case, worst case timeline.
Best case, we break ground this summer with start of construction probably by July, August.
And then what do they anticipate completion on the build?
6 to 8 months after that.
So call it 2026. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we have, as of this shooting, call it 8 months.
Correct.
Yeah, 9. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so 9 months, and basically in order to build out an additional 10K.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. Okay, so I want to take a real quick pause here, and I'm asking Andrea quite a few questions about the numbers. So, because where I think I'm going to end up going here is looking at raising rates. However, I'm never going to assume that I'm going to raise rates because I don't know enough information about the business to just arbitrarily make that jump to say raise rates. So I really want to unpack all the numbers. I want to know retention rates, average client value, what's the revenue, profit margin, all these things. This gives me a full picture so that I can make a much more confident decision about this is where I think we should go. And then therefore, how are we going to do that? Because there's a lot of ways to raise rates. It's not just increase overall price. But as I'm working through this, if you guys are looking at the number of questions I'm asked, it's because I'm trying to really get confident about the decision of what direction we're going to move. Let's talk numbers real quick. So what are your memberships?
So we have,
sorry.
So we have essentially 13 sessions a month, so average of 3 days a week.
Okay.
That's 105, and then we have an unlimited that is 145 a month. We do offer a 6 month. If you commit for 6 months, you pay for 125 for a unlimited.
But that's not paid up front. You're just giving a discount for committing for 6 months.
Correct.
Got it. And that applies to which or both versions?
Just the unlimited.
Just the unlimited.
Yep.
Okay. And that was 125.
125.
Okay. So
105, 125, 145.
145. Got it. Okay. All right. And you guys have been open for 8 years, going on 9.
Yes.
We're talking about pricing structure over that time frame. Where'd you start?
We started at 85 at our basic, our three days a week, and 115 on the unlimited, and month-to-month unlimited was 135.
Got it. Okay. Okay, so this, what's your churn? How many, like roughly, what's your retention rate?
Retention is about 90%.
So you have about a 10% churn? Okay. All right, cool. We are going to solve some stuff for you. Okay. Couple things we're going to look at here. So one is just understanding relationship between, that's where I want to go. So one is understanding relationship between churn and revenue, and then understanding like how you're going to structure your pricing model. Okay, so when we're talking about raising rates, a lot of times the question will come up about how frequently should I raise rates? And the short answer is there is no perfect kind of equation for that, but we should be raising rates in a fashion that matches operating expenses, right? If I'm trying to operate a business appropriately, I need to make sure that there is a margin built into that. So when things change in the ecosystem, we need to make sure that we are looking at the business from an operational standpoint, from a margin standpoint, and say, hey, are we building in the margin that we can reinvest in the business? Because when the market changes and you don't change, understand that you're making a decision not to change there, and that decision is largely to run a less profitable, less effective business.
Okay.
When was the last time you raised prices, or when was the last time you did anything to prices?
We did price increase 3 years ago.
Okay. How much was it?
And that was when we went from the 85 to 105, the 115.
Oh, you made a pretty big jump.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. And then
we did make the mistake of putting like legacy pricing for those that were already, and then we transitioned to the new pricing. But if people
do you still have people on legacy?
I think there's only 10.
Okay.
Because if they made any membership changes, they went
Got it.
to other pricing. And we've talked about internally, we need to solve that problem.
Right. Okay. That's relative simple, not easy.
Yeah.
To fix that, and we can walk through that too. Okay, last 2 questions. Do you by chance know what your ACV is or your ARM?
ACV is 89, and I think ARM is 92.
Sorry, I'm using those interchangeably, so that's a bad question. So average revenue per member or average client value, I'm going to use those the same.
Yep.
So
okay.
You're saying ACV is 85, so average client value is 85.
85, and part of that is because of how push press. So let me give you 2 different numbers. So our reoccurring revenue per member is about 150, because we do have 10 members that. So when we started our whole business, We learned a lot.
Yeah. So you're looking at MRR, right? Okay. So monthly recurring revenue. Okay. So here we'll do a quick math equation on this. So ACV, the very simple way to do this is, Jay, can you pull out a calculator for me real quick and do this so I don't have to do it real time. So the fastest way to do this is just take revenue divided by your member number.
Yep.
Okay. So let's just say you said 20 roughly consistently.
Yeah.
Okay. So 20K divided by what was the total member number? 155.
155. Yeah.
And before we do that, are all of those active members, meaning like those are paying people? This is not including staff members and everything?
Correct.
Okay, got it. So 120. Okay, so your ACV is 129. That's the fastest way to figure that out. It's probably a little bit of wiggle room in there, but when you're calculating ACV, I'm looking at total revenue divided by total number of active paying members, and on average, this is what I'm looking at. Okay.
Yep.
So this is, and then this outlines, if I'm trying to drive revenue, what are the levers that I have available to me to increase revenue? And people usually look at one of two numbers. They either look at this number or they look at that number.
Yeah.
They're like, I either need more members or I got to charge more. And the answer is there's actually more than that, right? So if I understand the different levers that I have to pull, what this allows me to do is not do risky things, right? Because when I do risky things, it comes with all the risk associated with that, and usually risky things have a lower rate of return in that scenario. So also, it makes the requirement for change in any given lever less, right? So easy math is, if I wanted to grow a business by 30%, I could just get 30% more members, or I could do 10% increase in members. I can do 10% price increase, and I can sell 10% of new thing, right? So retail, right? And meaning 10% of revenue, right? That's 30%.
Okay.
And this allows me to make much more realistic targets, right? Because I've added all these up. This is the number that I'm going to end up with. Any business is going to be totally happy with a rate of growth of 30% year over year. Like, it's bonkers good. We would love to do more. But effectively, if you're looking to go from 20 to 30K, right? If the goal is to move to 30K, like, what are the things that I have available to me to do that? Now, we've only listed 3. There are actually more. So I could change billing, right? So if I go to something like 4-week billing, this is 8% increase in revenue, right? If I pass on, call it credit card fees, right? This is an additional 3%. The reason I bring that up is you're trying to grow 50%. We're now at 41.
Okay.
With these levers at this point.
Yeah.
Pretty sure my math is correct on this. And we've not, was that 39? Sorry, no. If we're at 30, 41. Yeah, stay out of it, Nate. Stay in your lane. Work the camera, Nate. Okay. Now, and this is important because now this makes getting to 30K a much more solvable problem, which is like, okay, let me grow by 10%, which is like, okay, 10%, what's that? We look at 15 members, right? So I go from 155 to 170. 10% price increase, so we raise that by $15, and I go to, so that's at 170. 15 on that, so $145, right? Increase that. Get retail, some variation of, premium services combination, 10%, you could easily get 10% increase in revenue. So you're talking about an additional $2,000 from, or additional $2,000 roughly per month on things like a little bit of personal, and I don't even mean a lot, a little bit of personal training, some sort of onboarding that's priced correctly, and retail operations. Across all 3 of those, you split it off, you're like $700 a month, easy day, all day. And then billing cycle, credit card fees, and you're there. So, because most people are looking at, well, I just need to grow by whatever, like, what would the math on that be? What's 10,000 divided by 155, Jay?
10,000.
I don't know what that is.
64 now.
Okay. So, yeah, most people would try to cover this distance just with that.
Yeah.
So be like, hey, let's go to 200. And And I'm like, no, dude, what are we talking about? Like, listen, I'm happy to do that, but like, understand, like, you're talking about a significant bump in growth.
Right.
Or they're just like, well, let's just raise the price by 40%. Again, both of those come with increased risk. If you're going to try to grow that much, I have to do things that are higher risk reward, or like I'm going to have to get into Facebook ads, which is treacherous waters.
Yep.
It can work. Or I have to do something really egregious over here, right? And eventually you would want to move that number over anyway. So the first thing I want to do is outline all of the things you have available, because none of these probably feel super scary at this point, right? Be like, hey, let's grow by 15 members. Shit, we could do that with Bring a Friend Week by itself. Then let's figure out, let's move this number, that 129. Okay, cool. And then let's figure out what are the other things that we're going to add in there that fit into our core offering already. I don't want to go make up new shit, right? I just want to do, like, let's have an onboarding that's priced appropriately. You know, an appropriate onboarding is going to add call it $12 to $15 per person across the board in perpetuity for the most part. And then good retail operations. And then make that change over time, make that change over time. I know I talk about it in this video, but I think this point is worth hammering home. At this point in the industry, things like 4-week billing and passing on credit card fees are almost ubiquitous. Most people are doing this. So if you're somebody that has reservations about this, understand that there were some things that happened in COVID that have carried over with regard to passing on fees and changing billing cycles in order for businesses to survive. And if you don't want to do that, by all means, don't do it. But understand it is somewhat industry norm at this point. And if done correctly, most people don't have a problem with it. And the people that do have a problem with it are probably giving you other problems as well, at which point we need to talk about, should you have those people inside of the business? But if you have reservations about that, like, tons and tons of people are doing it already, and it's not really the thing that you think it is. These two things used to give people the cold sweats. These are almost industry standard at this point.
Okay.
So most people who have reservation about moving to this understand that the market is almost unanimously moving in this direction. So it's actually the norm. Where before, this used to make everybody feel real weird, right? But understand, you could change nothing, that's 11%. Before you do anything. So understanding how to move those things. Now, the larger concept that I want you to think about here is when you're thinking about that pricing structure generally, right? So let's just say, I don't know how you feel. Well, let me ask you this. How do you feel about moving on any of these particular pieces? If I'm looking at all of those, which one of them gives you the most reservation? Increasing numbers, increasing the price, selling new stuff, or moving in this direction?
None of them.
Okay. Easier, but so let me ask you a different question. What do you think your value cap is in what you offer people? Like, how high would you feel taking price?
So we currently have, we do a total transformation package. So someone that's coming in new, our highest ticket is $4.99 per month for the first 3 months. If they don't do nutrition, it is $3.25 is the lowest offering.
And then roughly what percentage of people take that when they come in?
Majority will do the $3.25 because the $4.99.
And that's over what time period?
3 months.
3 months.
So each month, the $3.25 is the first month, and then they have the onboarding sessions, and then go into a membership.
Got it.
After that, if they add nutrition, then it's the $4.99.
So $3.45, you said?
$3.29.
$3.29. Where did I come up with that number? So $3.29, Jay. What's the $3.29 divided by 3? It's roughly 110. Yeah. Okay. 110. So when you're looking at that, again, you're looking at what's the ACV over that time period. It's roughly $110, which is actually, it seems like you're selling high ticket, but you're not. You're actually selling under your ACV here at this point, which I would tell you, like, hey, if you're going to do a big transformation, you need to bump that price up.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
So all of that falls in line with this. Is like in a market, you have to understand kind of like what goes on from a pricing structure in a market, right? So we've got, service, right? So like price low, high, and then service would be like, when we're talking about service, you're talking about like low delivery versus high delivery. That's what I mean.
Yep.
Okay. And understanding what market you're in, right? So in CrossFit, we're in a mature market now. CrossFit's been around for 20 years. Gyms are not new. Like we're not doing anything, revelatory. Methodology is revelatory, but like fitness is not.
Yeah.
In immature markets, you can play in the middle. right? We're not there anymore. I would tell you 2007 to 15, you could live here from a pricing standpoint. Okay? You can't do that anymore, right? Okay. So I would argue that anything below 150 probably falls in the middle at this point.
Okay.
If we listen, everybody's freaking out right now. I know there's people that fall inside and outside that, but like generally speaking, if we look at F45, Orange Theory, then we move to higher end Bally's and stuff like that, like this is relatively in the middle.
Okay.
Okay. So you have a choice to make because you can't survive here because the margins don't exist based on what it costs you to operate.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have to move in one of two directions. You can't move this direction because that's not the business model for CrossFit.
Yeah.
So this direction is big box gyms, right? They live over here.
Yep.
So low price, low delivery.
Yep.
Right? Which means we have to move this direction.
Okay.
So we have to live over here. I want to move as far this direction, and essentially we'll just call this high ticket. High ticket can mean generally whatever you want it to mean, but higher than that effectively.
Okay.
The one caveat here is you must deliver high quality service. Like you cannot move in that direction and just arbitrarily think you can charge people a lot of money and suck at the thing, right? Like you have to do high value in order to move that direction. If you do, in any given market, there are always buyers in the high value market, always. I don't care what time frame, what ecosystem, there are always buyers in the high value area. So moving this direction. And the reason I bring this up is because this is an interesting framework for people who have reservations about charging more money. And all this is explaining is like whether you like it or not, if you don't move in that direction, the business will die. Like you just cannot survive in this range anymore.
Yeah.
And we don't, in order to live over here, you need to control supply chain or supply and demand, which you don't.
Okay.
Right? Meaning you would have to have absolute control of customer acquisition, which is like big box gyms have big marketing budgets. Right? They can run ad campaigns. They've got salespeople come in and be like, we can get 4,000 people into this location over the next 18 months, like whatever it's going to be. We don't do that, which means we're forced to move this direction.
Yeah.
So knowing that helps people be more confident about moving any of these. So for you, I would come up with a plan like over the next 12 months or over the next 8 to 9 months, I would start moving all of these.
Okay.
We would just have to map out the plan, but understand mathematically, just by doing all of these, you get 80% of the way there to your target number, and we don't have to do anything crazy. We're going to 175 people, roughly 145, selling a little bit of premium services, and then switching to 40 billing and credit card fees, and you're 41%. And that's a low number. I think this is the easiest of all of them to do.
Okay.
Is like a 10% growth rate there. We would want to see net 3, which means you would be 36 over the course of 12 months.
Yeah.
But mathematically, it's always helpful to figure out how would we get there? Because again, people usually look at like, I got to raise the price a lot, or I got to get a shitload of members.
Right.
You could do both of those. I'm here for it. Again, there's a certain set of, if I'm going to do that, I got to be really confident in sales and really good at it, probably have a great reputation. And if you're going to grow that, you got to have your sales and marketing to like completely dialed in.
Right.
Okay. And if you don't, well, cool. Let's go the better route, which is like, let's go 10, 10, 10, 8, and 3. Bam, we're there. So how do you feel about those?
I feel good. I think the one thing I know, and I don't know if it's just our area, because where we live, a lot of single income households. So you've got larger families. So you've got mom and dads that have kids of 3, 4, 5, 6. So when you start talking about the value that we can provide, I will say our facility, we have the most credentialed coaches in our area.
Okay.
So we've got a level 3 and 4 level 2s.
Okay.
2 more that are working towards their level 2. So from a and I know there's more to that than the credential, but I do feel other programs and things that we provide as value to our members. Okay. So that's where like the ticket comes in, and you start talking. They're like, "Well, I'll just go to Planet Fitness." Well, why? And it's just that's our sticky point.
Last piece, and we'll wrap this up. But I want to address that. As somebody who's cut my teeth in the credential world, doing it and teaching other people to do it, nobody cares. It's hard to sell.
Yeah.
Right. The credential piece can only be felt it really can't be communicated.
Correct.
So I tell our coaches all the time, I'm like, hey, nobody knows what a level 4 is versus a level 1. Some people can make the incorrect assumption that 1 is better than 4 because that's how numbers work.
Yeah.
So how do you communicate that, which is marketing? And this is, how do you communicate overt value without it being about you, right?
Correct.
So you versus them. So I'll give you an example. So this is something that we went through at the gym, at CrossFit Rife, at my gym. We also very much value coaching. But for the longest time, I was like, hey, we're not going to hang our hat on that, because hanging your hat on credentials and we're good at the thing is a flawed thought, because it's predicated on the incorrect assumption that the end user knows what good looks like.
Okay, that's fair.
So they don't, right? They just assume that you know what you're doing because you walked in the gym and you started a business. So they're like, oh, you must be good at this, because if you're not, that'd be weird that you start a business. So how do you communicate that? And this goes into like how you use things like core values and core belief in order to communicate what it is we value. And there's something called core belief, which is, what do you believe at your core about your service and your offering? So tell me what you believe about yours.
I would say we believe that, or I believe and my husband believes that we're there to help people become the best version of themselves and really try to transform not just what they're doing inside, but what they do outside those gym walls.
Okay, cool. I love it. So here's what I would encourage you to chisel that thing away until it becomes way more potent.
Okay.
So I'll give you ours, right?
Yeah.
And this took a long time to get to, by the way. Our core belief is that the coach is the single most important variable in an athlete's success.
I like that.
The reason that's important is if we think about this overarching idea of client success, meaning like this is their world. This is a very different way of talking about them while simultaneously communicating what value you have inside of this process. Because in that statement, we believe that the coach is the single most important variable in a client's success, which the coach right here. And that's a visual that I can now communicate. So now it's an indirect communication of like, hey, we really value coaching, but really we're talking about them.
Yeah.
Why is that important to you? Because it's the linchpin of you getting what you want in this scenario. So using that and reframing how you communicate from a marketing standpoint, really important.
Okay.
Because you want to talk about them. I don't want to talk about me.
Yeah.
Right? It's just weird, right? It's also selfish. Like we have a saying inside of seminar staff, which is like, when you're coaching and you start talking and you're like, you got cool jokes and you want to be like Jay, then it's like, hey, that's about you. That's not about them. Make it about them. That will help absolutely beat that number all day long.
Okay.
Because it's a compelling story.
Yeah.
So,
Awesome.
how do you feel about that?
Good.
Cool. I definitely think that seems like a big ground to cover, and maybe you won't get all the way there, but I think you would get very, very close. If you hit these marks, all of these are you could just do those, right? That one we could outline here over the next 6 to 8 months. This one will probably happen by itself.
Yeah.
And then we figure out what we do there, and you're really, really close.
Okay.
At which point you just have more levers to pull on.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
cool.
Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you.
CrossFitters, I've purchased hundreds of thousands of dollars of equipment in my life. I've been doing CrossFit since 2007. I've owned 4 affiliates. I currently own an affiliate in my basement. And let me tell you this, Rep Fitness is by far my favorite equipment. First of all, it's amazing quality. The price is right. And what I love is I talk to somebody that I know, that knows me, and that understands my needs. Now, cool thing is, as a family member of Best Hour, you can save big over at Rep Fitness. Go to repfitness.com/best hour and save on your next equipment purchase.
If you're looking at your numbers in a similar fashion to what Andrea was doing with regard to her numbers, and you don't understand them and you don't know what to do, and you ultimately don't know how to manipulate them, understand you do not have to do that alone. That is one of the many things we do inside of Affiliate U in order to help people build better boxes. We do everything from strategy to pricing restructuring to how to build their staff, better pay structures for owners, long-term exit strategies, and everything else that happens inside of the affiliate. So if you're interested in that, we are going to give you a complimentary look inside the machine, 14 days, give you some coaching and give you that roadmap as well. Click the link somewhere around this video if you're interested in that and set up a call. Thanks for checking out this episode of the Best Hour of Their Day podcast. We appreciate you listening and choosing to have us help you in your passion for coaching and affiliate ownership. You can find more episodes just like this on all podcast platforms. If you're interested in learning more, you can reach out to us on any social media platforms, or you can visit www.besthouroftheirday.com to book a call. If you found this episode helpful for you, please share it so that we can help other coaches and affiliate owners to help build a bigger and stronger CrossFit community. Thanks for listening.